At last Friday's Soybean Day Machinery Expo in Wahoo, we spoke with David Kohl, a professor emeritus of Ag Econ at Virginia Tech and president of AgriVisions LLC. While agriculture has its own challenges domestically, such as the overall uncertainty in Washington, it also faces major issues internationally. Take Europe, for example. David mentioned Friday that 12 of 17 Euro nations are currently in a recession. We discussed those global issues, as well as China's importance to the U.S. soybean industry, the current commodity supercycle, and long-term impacts of fiscal cliff discussions.
It's interesting, the fiscal cliff, whether it happens or it doesn't, say we go over the cliff, potentially we could take 2.6 to 3.6 off the U.S. economy. And it could potentially put us back into a recession, because what's happening is many business people and the consumers are basically digging in because they're uncertain about the rules out of Washington, D.C. The other aspect of the fiscal cliff is whether we go over it or we don't. I tell agricultural producers you can plan on paying 10 to 12% more in income tax, regardless of whether we go over the cliff. So what's happening is it's changing the psychology. And you know, our moms and dads and grandmothers and grandfathers had to manage volatility. We have to manage volatility at the extreme. And so what it does to agricultural producers, it locks them up. And so what I tell them is do scenario planning and you know, do 5 or 10 different scenarios on revenues and costs and plow through it.
Does it add any confusion to the export market if the strength of the dollar throws one way or the other?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, if you look at this great super cycle that we're in, one of the contributing factors was the low value of the dollar. And of course, Federal Reserves had a big impact on that. And it's real interesting, a low value of the dollar encourages agricultural exports. But you know what the other element? Many other countries are watching the United States. And they're actually losing a little bit of confidence in us. And that doesn't bode very, very well, particularly when they finance a lot of our debt.
They lose confidence because we can't get anything done?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, one of the things that you're seeing is politics is starting to trump sound economic decisions. And so we're kind of analogous to a bickering family. You really don't want to do business with them.
You mentioned the super cycle. Is it a concern with what we're paying for land prices that this thing could go somewhere that we don't want it to go?
Well, it's real interesting. You know, I've been in many sites in Nebraska here this week, and if you would really think about farm land values, they're hotter than a pepper sprout, you know, if we go back to the old Johnny Cash song. But it's all been because of this super cycle. This super cycle, there's been 4 in the past 100 years. This super cycle has lasted 2.5 times longer. And so what it's happened is it's been capitalized, the profits have been capitalized right into these land values. But I think I'm asked, are we in an asset bubble? I think we are in an asset bubble, not a credit bubble, but an asset bubble. And if you really look at from 2007 to the current date, you look at this land value spiking, like here in Nebraska, 34%. It's not sustainable. And so one of the things is we have all the perfect elements that are being capitalized in these land values. And so we're 10 years. Somewhere between year 10 and year 15, we'll probably dismount off this super cycle. So to all the producers that are here today, and I've talked to, you better have your dismount strategy.
The one thing I'm hearing from a lot of people, or from some people I guess, is that there's more of an interest to coming back to the farm now, because when you look at corn and grain, if you're a grain farmer, you can make a decent amount of money. But is that a concern when you talk about possibly the super cycle ending in 10 years?
Well, it's real interesting you bring that up. If a producer's under 40 years of age, they were 10 years of age during the last correction. If they're under 30, they've never experienced bad times in agriculture. So yes, it is a concern. And what's going to be real interesting is to see how the younger generation takes a punch. It's kind of like a football team, you know, you go through a little bit of adversity, they'll either start bickering and break up, or they will get stronger. I think one of the things is there will be a call to our younger producers that have come back or are interested in coming back if the super cycle corrects. But it is kind of great to see the young people coming back because it's adding a whole new set of energy. So it's a lot of fun for me to see all the youth coming back in.
I'll end globally. If you look at a country like China, who's done so much to buy agricultural products, is that something that you think continues and might still give strength to the U.S., especially when it comes to goods like soybeans?
It's real interesting. When you look at China, they've been growing at a 10.8% growth rate, GDP growth rate, for the past 30 years. That's unprecedented in world economic history. But that their growth rate is starting to slow down. China's coming in with its new leader into a new era where they're trying to keep social harmony. And so one of the things is China is the fulcrum of all the emerging nations, which are almost equal to the size of the U.S. economy and have represented 50% of the world growth. China is a key to keep our eye on, as well as interest rates and the value of the dollar.